With the Founders Festival arc well underway, it got me thinking about that time I got reincarnated as a slime, also known as Tensei Shitara Slime Data Ken, or Tensei Slime for short, and its many themes that make the story resonate so well with me. Now, I'm pretty sure that those who watch Tensei Slime for its battle manga elements are most likely upset about the present arc because there aren't any fights. Just instances of diplomacy, unique comedy, Rimuru in his slime form trying to avoid giving speeches, and the entirety of Tempest preparing for the Founders Festival. It might seem boring to the fans who want to see more fights, but like I said in one of my earlier slime videos, Tensura isn't a battle anime. It isn't about powering up and becoming stronger to achieve a particular goal. Like, sure, the characters fight, and Rimuru does get stronger with each fight he successfully wins, which has been all of them so far. However, Tensei Slime is about more than just the fights. That time I got reincarnated as a slime is about home, finding it, building it, protecting it, and wanting to go back to it. Now, quick summary for those who have never seen or heard of that time I got reincarnated as a slime before and are just learning about it from watching this video, because I know I did get a couple of new subscribers, some of whom love video games like I do. But anyway, in Tensei Slime, we follow Satori Mikami, a construction overseer who was stabbed whilst protecting a subordinate, died, and was reborn into a fantasy world as a slime with abilities and powers and a supercomputer in his head that can access his memories and tries to see his desires fulfilled. Oh, and he becomes best friends and adopted brother to a storm dragon, Veldora, who names him Rimuru Tempest and thus imbues him with even more power. And what does Rimuru aim to do with all that power, you wonder? Simple really. He wants to build a world where he can get the comforts, convenience and luxuries he enjoyed in the modern world, which honestly, I get it. I dig it. If you suddenly transported me from modern society into some fantasy medieval one without a walk-in flushing toilet, I'm going to lose my mind. I always say that Tensei Slime gives me big Age of Empires or Civilization vibes if, like me, you are addicted to those games, and the spin-off that is Slime Diaries gives strong farming sims vibes alongside all that coziness. For real, if you love cozy games or civilization building strategy games, you would absolutely love that time I got reincarnated as a slime. But this video isn't about cozy gaming or strategy games. This video is about Rimuru's desire to recreate a world that is familiar to him, one that reminds him of and is home. Home is such a core part of the characters of Tensei Slime and is such a crucial part of their world. Tensura is about home, finding a home, building a home, being at home, feeling at home, protecting home, and wanting to go back home. And we see this reflected in all the characters. When we first meet the Hobgoblins, then goblins, it's with their home being threatened by the dire wolves. Running into Rimuru, who moments prior just escaped from the cave that he had been living in up until he swallowed Veldora to help break him free from his prison, meant that the goblins saw a light at the end of the tunnel. With Rimuru so clearly bursting with power, they saw a chance at home that they could grab. Prior to Rimuru showing up, they had resigned themselves to being killed and their homes taken away by the dire wolves, who also show up in the story desperate to make a home for themselves now that Veldora had seemingly disappeared. But with Rimuru as the unknown factor in the mix, not only are the goblins able to fortify their village to keep the intruders out, but Rimuru is able to stand at the forefront to confront the leader of the dire wolves in the hope that the latter will take the rest of his pack and leave. Unlike the goblins, however, the leader of the direwolves has no idea about the power Rimuru was hiding. Rimuru had learned to control his aura at that point after all, and so the direwolves' leader's self-preservation didn't kick in, and he was killed by Rimuru in one of the easiest fights we ever get in the story. The rest of the pack, seeing their leaders so unceremoniously killed, responded by immediately submitting to Rimuru, who in turn responds by giving them names alongside the goblins and providing both of them a home with each other. We see this repeated with the lizard men and the hawks as well. The lizard men, desperate to keep their lives and their homes against the approaching orc invasion, and the orcs themselves, who left the barren lands that was their former home to try and make a new home in Jura Forest, consuming everything in their path before Rimuru again steps in to protect the forest which now housed his home and defeats the orc lord, who at this point had risen in power to becoming an orc disaster. Not like he stops Rimuru from defeating him and in so doing breaking the spell of the orc disaster's staff skill, which had held the rest of the orc army in some sort of zombified thrall. With their leader now dead and Rimuru offering them a chance to earn the forgiveness of the other races and ensure the survival of their race, the orc army accepts the deal, and Rimuru responds by naming them and providing them with a home spread across the entirety of the Jura Forest Alliance, which became the starting point for what eventually becomes the Jura Tempest Federation, home to them all. And this is inclusive of the Dryads, who called Jura their home with the blessing of Veldora before he was imprisoned and later vanished, and who came to ask Rimuru to help protect their home from the invading orc army. Then there is Benimaru, Soe, Akuru, Shion, Shuna, and Kurobe, ogres who were in need of a new home after their old home was razed and everyone they knew and loved killed. Rimuru does with them what he does so far in the story. He gives them names and offers them a home, alongside their chance at getting their vengeance against the Majin who was responsible for the massacre of their families and the destruction of their village. Tempest, which is referring to the city this time around, becomes their home, and the former ogres become Kijin and later Oni, who serve Rimuru and the Jura Tempest Federation in varying capacities, from being the commander-in-chief of the army, Benimaru, to being the spy master and head of a reconnaissance arm of their forces, Soe, to being the head priestess but also head chef and also the one who makes their clothes and heads and leads their culture, Shuna, to being the one who trains their forces and also Rimuru himself, Akuro, to being the swordsmith that makes the best of Tempest's weapons, Kurobe, to being the force of nature that takes up the role of the first of Rimuru's secretaries and the one who heads Tempest's undying forces, Shion. Every single one of them finds their place and makes Tempest their home, doing everything they can to protect this home of theirs. And then there's the dwarves, Dord, Garm, Kaijin, Merd, and Vesta, who all left Dwagon voluntarily, except Vesta, who was bundled out of his former country and into Tempest, so he could have a new lease on life somewhere he could put his skills and intelligence to use. But they all left their previous homes and came to Tempest, which they made into their new home, transforming the country into the economic bloc and powerhouse it is at the present time, all with the skill set and abilities to make Rimuru's plans created thanks to Raphael Sensei become the reality. Every day, from their humble beginnings of creating clothes and weaponry and armor and healing potions for the denizens of Tempest and those they trade with, all the way to present day that now sees them working in the Ministry of Science that is headed by Vesta, the dwarves have put in their skill, their sweat, their intelligence, and all their effort into making Tempest their home, and they've been more than rewarded for that effort. But of course, I can't examine the people who have migrated to Tempest in search for home and not bring up the demon lord, the primordial black himself, Diablo, who has been intrigued by Rimuru since he was on the other side and found a way to place himself at the gate to be summoned by Rimuru so he could get his chance to be of service to Rimuru and take up his role as Rimuru's second secretary, living in Tempest alongside the master he is so pleased to serve. And that's something I find extra interesting in Tensei Slime. The fact that a lot of these characters don't just see Jura Tempest Federation, the country as home, but also see Rimuru Tempest himself as their home. Is the one they come to, is the one they are more than happy to serve, is the one that is their happy place and that has them feeling satisfied. Whether it's Diablo, one of the 7 primordial demon lords and one of the most powerful demon lords in existence, or Alderman, the former priest to another god and demon lord who felt abandoned by her and so changed his allegiance to Rimuru Tempest, who is taken as his new god. All of them are happy to make Tempest, the slime, and the city their home. And then there's the other demon lord who just in the last couple of episodes has become the most recent resident of Tempest. In fact, it was her insistence on moving into Tempest and creating a portal right in town to a labyrinth that has me wondering why on earth she was so desperate to set up shop in Tempest. But then it's like she said, Tempest is fun. They are able to play as they want, and Tempest has Rimuru with his big plans to make the city the most at home he's ever felt. And that is something that Ramirez wants for herself. And sure enough, she not only gets to make Tempest her home, but it is in Tempest that her powers and abilities feel right at home. She's able to maintain her labyrinth, can put it to use, earn money from it, thanks to Rimuru's plans about the adventurers, which means she's no longer going to be the lonely, broke demon lord that Dino used to tease her as being. With Rimuru Tempest and in Tempest itself, she's able to find companions, family, a purpose, a job, and a home. But like I said, Tempest isn't just about finding a home. It's also about feeling at home. And that's the reason why we see that the demon lord Milim, for example, is always trying to run to Tempest, where she's entertained and gets to play and feel at home. That has been something she's desired ever since she first landed in Tempest, after the averted orc disaster, and Rimuru fed her some sweet honey. But it's not just Milim. There's also people like Gazelle Dwogo, who loves coming to Tempest as much as he can because he also feels at home in that land. And even Inata also feels most at home at Tempest. Of course, it's driven mostly by the fact that, like Yuki, she's stumped at how Rimuru is able to easily recreate the meals and experiences to be found in Tokyo that she and the other otherworlders who came from Japan never got the chance to experience again prior to finding themselves in a Tempest that Rimuru had developed to a point where he started enjoying the luxuries of the life he previously had as Satoru Mikami when he was back at home. Like I stated earlier, all of these characters are driven in different ways to protect their homes, even those that didn't make Tempest their home. Take Inata, for example. The reason why she was so easily manipulated by Damrada was because she was focused blindly on protecting her home, the holy empire of Lubelius and its religious decrees, which meant that they stood against all monsters, of which Rimuru happened to be one. Yes, it was also because she was suspicious of Rimuru being responsible for the death of her teacher, but what also helped justify her attack on Rimuru was following the tenets and decrees of where she calls home. And with the introduction of Lightspeed Masayuki a couple of episodes ago, we see more of the characters in the story whose arc is centered around them wanting to return home. Now, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime anime starts the story by showing us Shizu trapped in the fires of World War II, and just as she's about to be bombed to death, she is summoned into a fantasy world, leaving the death, destruction, and unfortunately her mother behind. Now, the anime doesn't really go into that much detail with it, but the manga does mention it in passing, and the light novel to some degree, to show us that what Shizu wanted in those initial months of her being summoned into this world was to go back home to be with her mother. The same can be said for Kirara Mizutani, who was one of the otherworlders being the collective term that was given to those who were summoned, or in the case of Rimuru, reincarnated from another world into the present fantasy one in which the story is set, who attacked Tempest by order of Falmouth when the latter wanted to conquer Tempest out of greed. She's the one who was killed by her partner in crime, Shogo, who murdered her to gain more abilities under the mistaken belief that it would help him survive having to go head to head against Akuru and Geld. Spoiler alert, it didn't. But Kirara, like a lot of the other worlders we meet in the story, also wanted to return home. In fact, it was what helped her cope with the atrocities she committed, because she convinced herself that the world they were in didn't matter, nor was it real, and what was important and real was home, that she would soon get to return to. In fact, her last words before dying was calling for her mother. Rimuru Tempest, further along in the story, does speak to certain characters about helping them possibly return home. I'm not going to go into spoilers because, reasons, but a lot of the characters in the story, some we've met and some we haven't met yet, are driven by the desire to return home as well, because home is important to them, just like it's important to the story that is That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. Do you agree with me? Hit the like button if you do, hit the dislike button if you don't. The choice is yours, really. Also, quick question. If you were ever summoned or reincarnated into the fantasy world like Rimuru was, and had the luck of having Raphael Sensei on your side, tell me, would you do everything you can to return to our world like some of the other warders would prefer? Or would you do like Rimuru and basically recreate all the comforts of home in your new world, especially knowing how hard it is to survive there? Drop your responses in the comments. I would love to know. If you think others might enjoy my video, please share it. It does help my channel grow and is incredibly supportive of my content. Speaking of support, a huge thank you to my patrons who have been instrumental in helping me pay my bills. Thank you. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, the link to do so is in the description box. I make new videos 3 times a week. Mondays are for anime manga content, Wednesdays are for my movies and TV shows, and Fridays are for anything else really. All my videos drop at 5 p.m. EST. Whilst you wait for my new video, do check out the video I made about how Tensei Slime is not a battle manga. Until next time, please remember, obsessing over the things you love, perfectly valid coping mechanism.